John hasn't been able to confirm for me, but I know that he has had training as a boxer. He's had physical training, and the rumor that I've heard is that he is now going to sue his physical trainer because all of the training that he got didn't work out too good. Good morning. Welcome back to Talking Racine. I'm Dr. Ken Yorgan, your host, and I'm surrounded by some very, very esteemed individuals, plus former Mayor John Dickert. We have Mr. George Myers over there on my left.
Morning.
Mr. Jim Spodek on my right. And as I mentioned, former Mayor John Dickert, who was also former head of the Great Lakes and St. Lawrence Consortium, which was tasked with, I think, saving the Great Lakes and getting rid of the Asian carp. I guess that didn't work out too good. But now he's currently working for the Wisconsin Department of Revenue. That's a high-ranking position up in Madison, Wisconsin. The central government for the state of Wisconsin. John is not talking today. He's got a sore jaw and a black eye. The report in the newspaper was that he was involved in some type of road rage incident by the Piggly Wiggly on Washington Avenue with a young man, age of 18. And we've done a little bit of investigating. Now, John hasn't been able to confirm for me, but I know that he has had training as a boxer. He's had physical training, and the rumor that I've heard is that he is now going to sue his physical trainer because all of the training that he got didn't work out too good.
You get your butt whipped, John?
Yeah. Well, I mean, to be fair, this young man is apparently about 5'11" and 160 pounds.
Yeah, well, that's, that's nearly as high as John is.
Yeah. Nearly as big. But we've always felt that John had anger issues, and from everything we've been able to gather about this incident, which isn't complete, but we've heard enough to, in our estimation, pretty firmly believe that John was having another rage issue, and it just didn't work out.
And he's in charge of collecting taxes for the state?
Oh, yeah.
Well, that's the kind of tax collector you want, someone that can control his rage.
Well, John, you're 57.
Is that why Evers picked him?
57
He's
years old.
57 years old.
Yeah.
Now,
The peak of his manhood.
for whatever, how do you chase down an 18-year-old and
This is out on Highway 20?
yeah, you want to get into a fight?
Pull over, kid. I want to fight.
Apparently he doesn't have much street fighting to him.
Well, maybe he was trained for, like, just in-ring opportunities.
Could be.
I don't know.
Could be.
Yeah.
Could be.
If there would have been a referee there, I'm sure that he probably would have done better.
Well, and the other guy had gloves on, and one of them tied behind his back.
Yeah.
But seriously, though,
That would increase the odds.
but I mean, seriously, how do you, as a former mayor and then now a ranking official at the state, actually get into a fight? I mean, literally, how do you do this?
Yeah.
I mean, there's some issues here, and
I would also like to know how he actually gets a position like that. I mean,
Well, that's an important
what's
question,
going on
George.
here?
You know, I mean, when he was mayor, the three of us obviously did not approve of the job that he did. We wondered how the heck he got the responsibility of being at the head of the Great Lakes Consortium, and then
protecting fish.
Yeah, and the largest repository of fresh water on Earth.
yeah.
And now he's up in the city of Madison collecting taxes or working with the Department of Revenue. We don't know exactly what his role is up there, but, he got it because he's an insider. He got a high-ranking position.
Well, here's the other thing. Now, I just want to talk about the situation here. Now, you had him obviously pull over into a parking lot and either start duking it out. How is the 18-year-old going to fare in this investigation?
Yeah.
Because now it's going to Trish Hansen, and we know Trish Hansen is loves nothing better than to cover up public officials. If you remember Chiappetta.
Yeah.
She did a sterling job with Richard.
Absolutely
Chiappetta.
good.
Yes, absolutely wonderful.
Absolutely, yeah. And I mean, of course, John has a criminal complaint now on Machinery Row in there, but of course that hasn't been even looked at, I believe.
They're having a hard time finding that complaint.
They can't
You know,
find
it
it.
keeps
They
bouncing back and forth
Yeah.
from agency to agency, and the person who filed the complaint is unable to been able to find anybody who will take responsibility for actually investigating that boondoggle.
But you know, one of the things that I want to get to another point is that Mark Belling in Milwaukee 620 radio station, I actually brought this up as an exclusive, and in his press release said Dickert was a controversial 3-year term mayor of Racine who aggressively pursued economic development, including a major project that failed. Well, we know what that was. Now, he
Yeah.
actually knows about it, Mark Belling, yeah, but Trish Hansen, I can't
figure
find
it
it.
out, yeah.
Can't find it. But what about this
Maybe
18-year-old?
we could get Belling to run for prosecutor, get him to run for
There you go.
DA down here.
But what about the 18-year-old? I mean, you think they're going to toss this kid under the bus?
Well,
Whoa, yeah.
you know, I would suspect that that's probably going to be the attempt that's going to be made. I mean, look what they did with the kid that got shot by the officer, Geezy.
Yeah.
I mean, he was acting in self-defense is what the final result was
Right.
claimed to be.
Right.
Which, and we've talked to other people that have vastly different views about that, who knew the kid and are familiar with the circumstances, so on and so forth. So I think she's definitely in line to create another
And then,
cover-up.
of course, they picked up Cafferty as the attorney. I mean, all the pieces fit together. And, you know, here you got a
Well, you got this young kid, 18-year-old
Yeah.
kid, who is, I don't know how much of a boxer he is himself, but the thing is that he is going to be up against a lot of powerful people.
Yeah.
From the DA on to somebody in the Department of Revenue, this guy here, yeah, he looks a little helpless now, but, you know, he's got some connections. And who knows what the legal department's going to, the legal and then the police, what are their reports going to come out and say? He's might be into some, a little bit over his head. He might be into some trouble. Because when you go up against the establishment, you know, we know how they start putting their blocks together and
they manipulate it.
build up the stuff. Yeah.
And, you know, the other thing is it doesn't come out apparently it happened on Sunday. Well, it was Friday before it actually comes out to the paper. I mean, Mark Belling hit it 3 days later, and then it was forced. Racine had to disclose the fact that there was a fight with the ex-mayor, and so already it was starting this cover-up type of stuff. So we're gonna see. We'll just keep an eye on it.
Yeah, it would be worthwhile watching. Because and I think we might need some little help, you know, to watch because I don't know if he even knows what he's up against yet. Doesn't realize. We understand the connections with someone like Dickert, but does he? And is he going to find somebody that's going to be able to defend against the establishment? It could be some serious considerations for him. And at the time, all we know is they were both fighting.
Yeah.
And there's no indication from the
Well,
story.
road rage.
Well, who should have been the real grown-up in the situation?
absolutely.
You know, I mean, why did it get down to a physical confrontation? That's the question.
Yeah.
Now, I am very, very suspicious that Mr. Dickert is the responsible party here because he's the older gentleman, he's the adult in the room supposedly, and you know, I've seen him in action before. I don't trust his temperament. I'm of the opinion that he's probably responsible for this.
I wouldn't
That's
be surprised
my
finding
opinion.
out. Yeah. Mm-hmm. You know, and how many? I don't know. 18. Of course, I don't. Yeah. It seems more likely that the Dickert would have been the one to do. Why would Dickert pull over some, hulky 18-year-old was saying, "Come on over.
Yeah.
I want to take you on." You know.
Right.
I mean.
Or why would you? I mean, is this going to tackle?
Yeah.
I mean,
but
something's wrong here.
Yeah, it doesn't quite make sense.
But they're going to spin this. Believe me, the spinning machine is working right now. And it's
Well, they've both been charged with assault and battery.
Yeah.
So, neither have been charged. Sorry, they've both been recommended for assault and battery. It's been
Well, the report has
turned
been
over to
filed
the
and
city
it's-
attorney. Yeah.
Not the city
not
attorney, it goes to the district attorney.
District attorney
Yeah.
for assault and battery. Yeah.
Because it happened in Mount Pleasant. So.
Right. Well, yeah, it's a criminal thing, so it's going to go to.
Well, John, we'll keep up. We're going to keep up with this story.
Yeah, I would definitely talk to my physical trainer if I were you and ask him what the heck he taught you. Because, man, oh man, 5'11", 160 pounds, and you came out second best. I don't know. Not a good record.
No.
Okay, we're back. John had to go and see his therapist. So we're gonna talk now a little bit about the subject that's on the minds of everybody and has been for the last month or so, and that's the coronavirus and what's going on here in Racine. Is there any toilet paper on the shelves yet? If you guys noticed any toilet paper?
I don't agree. Plumb out.
I just wish I would have known about this. I would have been able to invest in a bidet factory.
Yeah, there you go. Yeah,
I understand bidet sales are they're going up. Oh yeah, yeah.
Well,
absolutely.
To each his own. We want to talk a little bit. I know about the actual numbers and what have you, but I mean, I kind of want to talk about the economy on the whole. The other, the part of this that is now starting to get a little bit of discussion, but how it's affecting, we brought this up 2 weeks ago with the stock market and the rest, and we're talking about retirement accounts, and we're talking about people that have suffered because of this. Now they're going to send out a check for $1,200, and people are going to get this. But again, what I see is the $1,200 that's coming out. If you owe child support or back taxes or whatever, that gets sucked up.
It ain't much.
It ain't much. It's not going to do much for anybody in particular. By creating this problem, you spent $2 trillion to...
There's a huge transfer of money taking place.
Yeah, and I'm like, well, did we really do this smartly? I mean, I just think we've even somebody
smartly, is it?
That's a word.
It sounds like a Trumpism.
Well, did we do the right thing?
Well,
shutting it down to the degree it is now, and it can go further.
Well, if you look at the results, shutting things down, at least minimizing contact, has been effective in South Korea, and you got the statistics there.
But they didn't shut down like we're doing. No, they did not close any shops. They what they did is they first did a lot of testing. 15,000 tests a day, and that's just in South Korea. Compared to I don't know how many tests we're doing.
What do they got? 40 million there?
Yeah, something like 40 million people. So it's they did a lot of testing, and when there'd be a little outbreak, like they're in a part of South Korea, they'd go in there, swarm it with tests, start tracing around, look for the source, and then they might quarantine or certain people in certain little sections, but not just abroad like we're doing across the board. 4 cases in the city of Racine, close the city down. So it's
well, the city hasn't really been closed down. I mean, there's still a lot of traffic out there. There's still a lot of people moving around.
They haven't locked everybody up, but they've done essentially a close down of a lot of businesses.
Yeah.
And it's been enough the stock market has dropped dramatically. And a lot of people are being put into financial difficulties because they're losing their jobs, at least temporarily. So it's not like Roosevelt did with the Japanese and throw them all in jail, but or in intern camps. But it certainly has been a shutdown of sorts. And Korea apparently didn't do any of that. According to one of the quotes, we did not do. The Korean Prime Minister, what do they call him, did not do a shutdown, but they localized it and then got it under control, and now they're down to very small. It's gone up and then we dropped way back down, and they did it without closing any shops. They have a very good. We've got some real good statistics from the Korean thing. They right now they sit at 9,137 cases. That was with a couple days ago, and the total fatalities is 126. Now all this stuff you've heard about Korea, those are the numbers, and you compare it with the every day 100 people in America die from automobile accidents, and the number of people die from various sources just measure way higher than that, but. So far, no one under the age of 30 in South Korea died from the infection. So it obviously goes after older people and sick people, and Korea has got it under control. When they go to an area too, they get on their suits and they go out and wash down all the streets and wash down all the sidewalks and do a whole bunch of scrubbing in the area where the outbreak occurred. to get it under control. And that's basically the actions they took without going through,
So what's the
trillions of
aftermath?
dollars
Okay,
they're
so
putting
now
into
we
it.
shut all the businesses down, or we shut a lot of these businesses down. A lot of these are retail and lower end paying jobs, which people suffer at that level the most. And now we're sending them $1,200. Like that's going to we'll put them right back up to square one.
Well, how long have people been out of work so far?
Well, I would say at least a week, 2 weeks, and they anticipate it's going to be 3 weeks. Well, 3 weeks at $1,200. Now let's take this into reality in the city of Racine, how it works. You owe tickets. You got some parking tickets. You've got some child support. You've got other things. This $1,200 is going to get sucked up by the government. I don't care what. Oh, it's going to come to you. Not to that bartender or that retail clerk who's got a couple things hanging out there that I didn't pay. Now it goes to the.
Aren't they suspending the collection of fines and fees
I
for the
don't
time
think
being?
so.
I mean, they gave a 1 month extension on property tax. I know that.
Well, they did, but they didn't. Child support. They just had it. With child support, you're going to be paying child support.
Well, kids got to eat.
But somebody's working, they can feed their kids. You know what I'm saying?
Yeah.
I'm saying, I think it was extreme in shutting down these businesses the way they are. Now, granted, I think some cautious procedures could have been put in place more so to protect. As distancing is fine, but I mean, I think this got to the point now. I just don't see the numbers.
I'd like to go back to the Korean example for just a minute, because here are the 3 steps they took. First one I already told you about, testing, 15,000 a day. Second one's very interesting. Open and honest about the situation.
Yeah, I think that's
Yeah.
the key.
Tell people what's going on.
Yeah.
And in a free society, that's the way that's the way it should work. In a totalitarian state, the government tells you go inside your house and stay there. In a free society, you're given the information, and then you make the decision about whether you go in a house and stay there. And the first step to that is open and honest about the situation. Give people enough information. And I'm afraid we've gotten too many lies about the situation.
There's a lot
right
of
now.
misinformation out
Distortion.
there.
Yeah.
The press is making a fortune out of this.
Yeah.
Everybody's tuning in to find out about the latest of coronavirus. They watch the statistics.
Yep.
They watch how many tune in to your show. They know that, and undoubtedly they've been seeing those numbers go up.
Right, and it's
as
just
more
like
and more
anything.
people
This is
are
what they
following
want to hear. We're going to keep feeding this in there, and that's how it works.
And they do it by, the media's been that way forever.
Yeah.
If it doesn't contain
Well, I think
money
media's-
or danger or controversy or sex or something like that, they know to leave the story go. It's not that important. The front page is always full of that type of stuff.
That's where we're different. We cover the things that are unimportant. No, that's not right.
But
We try.
But those are the things that scare people and get you into watching
Yeah.
them. And I hope we never evolve into that,
Yeah,
because if we
right.
start doing that, then we've just fallen in line with the rest of the media. There are people out there that are beginning to take the other viewpoint and beginning to challenge it and saying, is this the best route to take?
Mm-hmm.
Those people that told us to take this foolish route, it's going to be like the tiger in the room. They're going to say, yeah, the reason we made it because we made you do that.
Well-
It's like the guy that says, I come out and do this hocus pocus to chase all the tigers away. And you say, there's no tigers around here. And you say, see, it works.
Well, let me ask you: are you taking any personal precautions?
Oh, I'm being
Well,
more
what-
careful
what do
about
you-
it.
what do
I'm
you
doing more.
personally
Oh, by the way, I didn't get to the third one. Open and honest about the situation. And the third one in Korea was practice social distancing.
Mm-hmm.
Now, somebody criticized us for being, too close together. Well, hold a second. Social distancing. We're not talking about your kids and your spouse and people you know. We're talking about in general conduct. If you go to Menards, they got X's on the cash register, 6 feet between. If you get into line there, you just stand back. You take your social distancing. Generally, is in regards to people you don't know, or you're in a total strange environment. It doesn't mean everybody that you meet. It means you can't sit at the same dinner table with your spouse or with your kids. You can't tuck them in bed at night. It's not what we're talking about. And people, so yes, I am practicing a little more cleanliness, wash my hands a little more often than I normally do,
Mm-hmm.
So and that was basically what South Korea did. I still got to go to work. Yeah.
What about the elections?
things I never did.
Is this going to affect, at some point, I mean, you can already kind of see it, that people are just cooping up people in their homes and overseeing, what's happening. I mean, you can see it right now. Now they're talking about too many people in a park. They got too much time. Too many people are out walking. Certain things
I know,
and now I think...
Who's talking about that? Too many people out walking?
Yeah, Chicago, closing parks. Too many people out there. Too much.
Yeah, they were disturbed by all the people out exercising.
It's actually good to be outdoors.
I agree, but here's what I'm saying. When you start those restrictions, Americans are not going to put up with it. It's just the way it is.
I hope not.
Yeah, I think that's happening. I think it's happening, George. I think Americans are going to say, "Hey,
some of them are backing off."
This is where is this going to backfire at some point where you've got one of these governors or mayors, really pushing these issues?
Well, we're already seeing it in Racine.
Yeah, we are, and we can touch on
Corey Mason. Corey Mason just came on, and with all this type of stuff, what's he want? He wants. Here's the title: "With no meetings, how will government function?" And he wanted to provide Mason with some emergency authority to conduct city business without needing to call the city council.
Yeah. You know what?
Now,
Everybody else is supposed to sit.
Blatant violation of our principle of government. You know. And Madison, in the Federalist Papers, said the definition of tyranny is when one person or group of persons has all three powers of function. Of government. That's the legislative, the executive, and the judicial. And here's Corey Mason trying to take on the legislative.
Well, it's
also.
been an ongoing process. Ever since he's gotten into office, he's been working hard to assume the authority of the council.
Well, he's got a bunch of bobbleheads. At least they go through the formality of rubber stamping what he does. Now he wants them even without them there. Do this, and he's doing this in with regards to this coronavirus thing closing down the government. And here's another thing.
Well, they could have virtual meetings.
Well, but you do have to have. I don't know if you can.
And if Car 25 was up, the public could watch them.
Well,
I don't know if that's a legal way to get a quorum or not.
I don't know if that you can do that way, but. Fact is, they can all come in. You can still 6 feet apart. You can still stay in the room. You can still vote. I mean, you're still human. You're still alive. I mean, all that can still be handled. To do this, to actually say, I am going to take over everything and push these issues through without a vote is wrong.
No, and if that happens there, that is a very dangerous thing to have happened in here.
But even
and the fact that he even wants to do that tells me it's time to get rid of this guy because that is not okay. And his by the way, his cohort who here is what's his name, Powell.
Well, he's his director of
Shannon Powell.
Communication or something.
Yeah. Is he the one is he supporting one of the candidates?
Yeah, he's
the one running for one of the aldermen.
Yeah.
I mean, this is the type of thing that's going on in this city, and they're grasping onto this power. I mean, the governor probably just loved. I mean, there was no reason to shut down all the restaurants, all these places in the whole state of Wisconsin. You go up north, and there's hardly any cases. We only got a couple in the whole Racine County. It's not like New York.
Well, in their defense, I'm not sure that they
knew
knew what they were dealing with. And I'll tell you, there are pockets where has been multiple exposures of people, and where there's a condensed population that's constantly,
it's in New York.
Encountering
right now. New York has like 40% of all the cases in the whole darn
Detroit
country.
has got a real issue right now.
And the point is, and that's how Korea did it. But I'm not only just looking at that. I just think Evers just really liked the idea, the power.
Well, I think there's a lot.
I can shut down.
No, I'll tell you what. I think there's a certain amount when there's government loves a crisis. I can become somebody. I become the power, and I can dictate this. And this is where you get all this misinformation and this scaring of the citizenry.
Well, we're getting misinformation across the board.
Yeah, exactly.
I mean, there are people that are poo-pooing it as though there's nothing going to happen. Just relax.
Well, you know what's going to happen here at the end? We're going to finally get the numbers, and somebody's going to start breaking them down, and we're going to start getting these numbers. But to come into this with this big net, I just think.
And Doc, I haven't heard anybody say that it's not a problem.
Yeah.
The only thing I've heard is say we don't need to go to these extremes because of coronavirus. That's all.
I've heard somebody say it's not a problem. One day it's just going to magically disappear.
Well, that doesn't mean it's not a problem. It's going to go away. You
Yeah.
know that. You know we're going to handle it. I mean, the human body. I mean, look at the percentages of people.
What I'm saying is we don't really know. And in the past, when a lot of these regulations or these guidelines or whatever you want to call them came out, nobody really knew what we were confronting. And we still don't know with great certainty. I mean, there are situations where the population has been dense and where a lot of people have encountered each other, and they have real problems. They have a serious problem.
Right. In fact, in one of the areas, which was it? Was it New York or no? I think it was in Korea. The dense part. What really started to explode was in a elderly homes hospital. They had atrocious cleanliness and stuff. I mean, it was that was what really got it spreading wildly and suddenly creating a hot spot in Korea. So as soon as they went in there and cleaned that up, that was fine. And the problem, the main fear factor was that it was different from a normal flu, because at this point we've had 20,000 people die in this country from the regular flu, and so far in the country we've had how many? Are we even up to 1,000? And we're closing shops?
I don't trust those statistics, because I've heard from people working in healthcare that the statistics that they give me through experience do not match what we're getting in the media. In other words, it's a more intense problem in some locations than we're being led to believe. Okay. So I just think that it's wise to approach the whole situation with caution.
I not saying that, but to close shops and wreak havoc on the economy will have worse results. The biggest killer of anything, flu, smoking, driving, all that stuff, is by far a thing called poverty. If you want to see death rampage through this country, through any country, just impoverish the people, and you're going to see a lot of people die. So the economy is life. It is important. If you don't think it's important, go to Guatemala, go to New Zealand, go to Venezuela, go to Argentina, where they have no economy, where it's dead, and you want to see people impoverished and dying. That's where you see it. So the economy is important, and we can't go out and just start crushing the economy, saying, well, it's not as important as living, because it is living itself. That's all I'm saying, is let's not get carried too far. Not that you can't, just watch it a little better. That's what they did in Korea. I told you the 3 steps: testing, be open and honest, and then maintain the social distancing.
I haven't heard that we have a comprehensive program going where they're actually manufacturing the testing materials and implementing them in the public.
We're way behind in testing in Korea. That's true, and I would love to get tested. I would, I'd like to go. I think I'd love to everybody tested.
We're also
then we know exactly where the problems
We're behind
were.
in the technology too. I mean, with their ventilators is one way of treating people who come down with this disease on a serious level. They put them on ventilators, and it's fairly long term. I mean, a person can be on a ventilator for weeks.
Okay.
And we don't have a surplus of them. In fact, I know a young man who works in a hospital in Detroit, in the Detroit area, and they know that in very soon now they're going to have to be making a decision. Some people are going to be able to be put on ventilators, and some they won't have enough equipment to do that.
Well, let's see if that comes about. That's part of all these draconic predictions. I mean,
well, that's why we want to be cautious, because we don't want to get into that realm.
Well,
we don't want to go, oh, son of a gun, it really was bad.
Well, and that's the excuse that people give for closing businesses and telling people to stay home.
It's not an excuse, it's a caution.
Well,
it's a caution.
You can, okay, well, I say, you just be careful with the caution. The cure is not worse than the sickness itself.
All right.
Well, did we have anything else we were going to cover here this
I think
evening?
we're good.
Yeah. All right. Yeah.
No, that was the main thing. Is that this is coming down to home with this centralizing of power. It's happening in the city government.
My recommendation is don't be paranoid. Don't let fear control your life, but at the same time remain cautious. And do what you can to prevent yourself from becoming a carrier of this, and be cautious of people who might be carriers. So that's all I'm saying.
No,
just be rational with it, and enjoy your time off. Well, we're going to tamp it down right now, and we'll be back next week. We hope you come and join us. Thank you.